The presentation portion of this meeting will be recorded for others that aren't able to join us today, can watch it at their own time. Please update your Zoom to include your preferred names and your pronouns. Your microphones are turned off from the start, and you will need to unmute to speak. If you're joining by phone, all you have to do is press 6 to unmute. Otherwise, if you're on Zoom, you can press the little mic button. You can also use nonverbal feedback options. You can raise your hand or leave a message in the chat box if you have any questions. I'll go over briefly our outcomes for the meeting that we're hoping to achieve. First is meeting one another and the BTD project team, getting acquainted with the project and learning a little bit more about the goals of the project and what we've done so far. Confirm your priorities and make sure we haven't missed anything. And then learn a little bit about the toolkit that we use to make street changes. So first on the agenda is introductions. So an introduction is in place. Hi, my name is Daniela Sanchez, and I am part of the active transportation team in the Boston Transportation Department. And here with me is my colleague, Jen. Jen, would you like to unmute?
Yes, hi, I'm Jen. I am also a member of the active transportation team with Daniela at the Boston Transportation Department.
And the active transportation team is aims to dramatically improve safety on Boston streets with a focus on people biking, walking, and with particular attention to younger folk, older folk, and people with assisted mobility devices. So, sorry, before we do that, since we're so few people, I'll just give a chance for everybody to introduce themselves. So I will do a call out. Ashley, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Pierre-Louis. I am from Howard Stein Hudson, and I am supporting the Boston Transportation Department with public engagement.
So we'll move on to getting acquainted with the project, sort of review the project goals and what we've done to date, and I'll pass it on to Jen to introduce this portion.
Thanks so much, Daniela. We're gonna, as you mentioned, kind of just talk a little bit about the project, where it came from, what its goals are, and where we are now.
Jen, you're on mute, yeah.
I swear I hit the button, but I didn't. Okay, thank you. Well, let me begin again. What's the Zoom? As I was basically just echoed Daniela, and that we're gonna take you through the project, where it came from, what its goals are, where we are now, and what we would like to hear from you today. The project began in the spring of 2019 at a meeting at the People's Baptist Church. Residents and stakeholders asked us to take a broad look at walking and biking throughout Lower Roxbury. They asked us to listen to what people who live here now want for their community and to help them realize their goals related to transportation and safety. And so to those ends, we started this project focusing on the city-owned streets that are between but not including Mass Ave, Melnia Cass, and Columbus Ave. So basically all of the areas highlighted in blue in this map. I'm just checking the chat because I see something is there. Thanks, Kirsty. And so this is really a unique opportunity because we already have funding set aside for improvements, but that funding isn't yet allocated to anything specific. So we're excited because that means that we have the freedom to really co-create the project and the process with you and make sure that our transportation investments are really highlighting neighborhood assets and creating positive changes to your streets that respond to your community's needs. So we want to be very clear that this is not a development project and it's not geared towards the needs of new people moving into the neighborhood. It's our aspiration that this project builds ownership and pride so that people living here now have even more of a reason to resist displacement. And so this diagram here shows how we're thinking about outreach. As you can see, it begins with listening, and that's to as many people in the neighborhood as possible. So we started this step actually quite a bit ago, August and September of 2019. We began by hosting six ideas on the street workshops, pop-ups. And we asked people what they love about the neighborhood, where they find joy. We also asked people to envision the future of their streets in Lower Roxbury. And we gathered over 250 comments from residents and visitors of all ages. And then we also wanted to confirm that what we were hearing were shared community priorities. So we hosted a series of open houses in the fall and early winter 2019, 2020 at Mandela Homes, People's Baptist Church, Canfield Estates, and St. Stephen's Church. Participants could look over the comments that were shared by others and then add their own. And then after that, we compiled all of the ideas we heard, both from the pop-ups and then from the open houses, and we mapped them. And what we'll do today is walk through those maps with you so we can receive your feedback, confirming whether they resonate with what you would like to see changed. We also, of course, want to make sure that we're not missing anything important. And afterward, we'll share with you the types of tools we could use to help. So that brings us, I always forget that slide, okay. So that brings us to the next part of the agenda, where we're envisioning going into breakout groups, but since it's a pretty small group today, we can all stay together. So what I'll do is I'm just going to pause my share for a moment and pull up the maps. All right, so I'm going to pass it back to Daniela, who will walk us through the toolkit of design changes that we can use to potentially address some of these ideas or implement these ideas.
Thank you, Jen. So what I'll present is sort of our toolkit for designing streets, and feel free to come off mute and ask any questions. If we're able to answer them, we will. And if we're not able, we'll always write them down and ask our engineers and get back to you. They're sort of the experts. So our design toolkit, sort of the city of Boston uses many tools to improve safety and comfort on city streets. So we have tools that can help encourage safer crossings or safer turns or safer speeds, or all, or some. So not every tool can work on every street. And sometimes we use multiple tools in the same location to sort of address specific issues or multiple issues. But most importantly, I think it all starts with an understanding of the concerns and issues at specific locations or on certain streets, and how they affect as well the whole network or neighborhood. So we'll go over one of the tools that we will be using, most likely because of the request, which is installing new crosswalks. I think a crosswalk is a marked location where people can cross the streets, and they include, when they're new built, curb ramps and crosswalk stripings. I'm sure you've also seen us rebuilding some curbs to make sure that they're accessible, but when we're building them new, we make sure that they already are and well marked. Another type of crosswalk we have is a raised crosswalk. And these are at the same level as the sidewalk. They help to slow down drivers and make it easy for people that are crossing to be seen. So they improve the safety, but also visibility at crossing locations. I just want to note that we generally don't propose raised crosswalks on busier streets or on streets that have MBTA bus routes. Another tool that we have is curb extensions. A curb extension is where a sidewalk extends into the parking lane. And this means that people who have to cross have a shorter distance to cross from one side to the other. They also make room for people to wait before crossing. And sometimes we build curb extensions to ensure that the crosswalks are accessible for people who use wheelchairs. Curb extensions can also help to slow down drivers as they turn, making the intersection safer for everyone. I'm sure Some people here live close to Cremont Street, and in Cremont Street, you can see crossing islands. So crossing islands provide a space for people to pause when crossing multiple lanes. And they make the intersection feel safer because you can take the crossing into stages. Crossing islands can also help slow turning vehicles by ensuring that the turns cannot cut turns quickly. And we usually we can create crossing islands with pavement markings and flexible posts, but we can also build them with more permanent materials like raised areas of concrete and granite. Another intervention that you can see, for example, on Massachusetts Ave is a rapid flash. No, sorry, you see those on Tremont as well, maybe. Anyway. Rapid flashing beacon features a small rectangular bright flashing lights underneath a pedestrian warning sign. The light flashes temporarily when someone pushes a button on the signpost. So rapid flashing beacons are used for mid-block or unexpected locations, and they are effective at gaining drivers' attention and improving the yielding for pedestrians on crosswalks. Whenever we do a project, we also look at the signal timings for all the signals in the area. And one of the things we can do is make sure that pedestrians have enough time to cross or improve those times, the time available to have the walk signal. But we can also provide pedestrian head starts, which means that you can start before traffic so you can get ahead. Another treatment we can do is separated bike lanes, which provide a dedicated space for people biking, separated from people walking, and protected from people in cars. These facilities are more comfortable for more people biking than traditional bike lanes that don't have any sort of separation or protection from the traffic of cars, buses, or trucks. The other type of bike lane that we can introduce is a contraflow bike lane. This provides more direct routes for cycling, and it allows people biking to go both ways on a one-way street for motor vehicles. And these are very useful, for example, to help bicyclists avoid obstacles like hills or busy streets that don't have proper bike lanes or separated bike lanes, and where there's major destinations like parks or trails that would be helped to have an access point. This is from SF. This is a speed feedback sign. And a speed feedback sign are digital signs that display the driver's speed combined with a speed limit sign. So if the driver is exceeding the posted speed limit, the digital sign flashes. And this can help reduce the number of drivers going very fast on the roads. And another treatment that we can do as part of our toolkit is teen intersections. And this is when we redesign irregularly shaped intersections by extending the curb to fill the extra space and create intersections with right angles. This helps improve the visibility at intersections and reduces conflict, but it can also help reduce the speed of turning vehicles and make it safer for people to cross the street. If nobody has any questions on those, I can briefly go over what our next steps are. I just want to give a brief pause in case anybody has any questions. Okay. So our next steps, we will keep, so currently there's a survey available on the website in English and in Spanish. We will keep the survey open until the 18th of June, which is next Friday. And then once we close that, we will start incorporating the feedback that was on the survey, as well as the one that we've gathered from these meetings, into a draft design that will highlight the neighborhood assets. So if you have a friend or a neighbor that wasn't able to make it to any of the meetings, or just encourage them to fill out the survey. We have an outreach advisory group that was convened last year to help us guide and improve our engagement efforts throughout this project in the neighborhood. You can find more information about them on the website, but we will also be meeting with them on the 24th of June. to check in and see how this outreach effort went and sort of what will be our next steps. And then we will check with you again in the fall in regards to what this draft design will look like. If you want to stay informed and if we have any updates or let you know about anything, feel free to sign up for our mailing list on our website, which I think Ashley will drop the link. So I just wanted to provide you a brief timeline of where we're at. This is sort of our last stretch of confirming priorities and receiving your feedback. And then all the feedback that we receive will be incorporated into this feedback we've received until now, as well as the feedback we've received in this part of the outreach will be incorporated into a plan design. And then once we have that by the fall, we'll do another round of outreach to confirm that this is the right track, and then incorporate your feedback from then into refining the design based on your request. Based on the request and some of the projects, the timeline is long because there might have to be things like planning curb ramps, moving drainage, and things that take a little bit more to plan and design. And then once we have that more finalized, we will again consult, make sure that it's ready to go, and finalize the design by hopefully spring, summer 2022. And I will give it to Jen to let you know what else is happening nearby in the neighborhood, because there's a lot of things happening this summer.
Yes, all the things all at once. We've all been holding back the pandemic, but yeah. So one thing we're really excited this summer to restart are our Women's Learn to Ride clinics. These are a place where they spread the joy of biking and help more women and gender nonconforming people travel by bike. If it's a place for, if you haven't never learned to ride a bike, or you're looking up to pick up some new skills, learning to ride on the street, for example, the clinics are for you. They're going to begin this July in Mattapan, and then in August we'll move to Franklin Park, and then in September they'll be close by in Lower Roxbury at the Boston Water and Sewer parking lots. Yes, Ashley put the link in, thank you. And then you can also discover all of the transportation projects that are happening in Roxbury and elsewhere in Boston by visiting our department's project map. And from that map, you can often click onto the individual pages to learn more about the projects and upcoming events, and then to sign up for project mailing lists. And outside transportation, our colleagues under the our colleagues at the Boston Planning and Development Agency have a number of projects in Lower Roxbury. Under Plan Nubian Square, their BPDA is hosting the 4th workshop on Parcel 3 to discuss Roxbury demographics, explore some trade-offs for that parcel, and report back about a diverse development survey. Then for the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan, they have a couple meetings coming up this summer. On June 7th, there's some developer presentations for the Crescent parcel, and then on July 12th, they're going to share some updates about transportation and also about the development of a number of parcels. And then within Lower Roxbury, the BPDA is preparing a request for proposals for open space and community gardens at parcel X26B. That will be expected to be issued this fall. And our colleagues at the BPDA have told us that some local stakeholders plan to hold community visioning exercises to plan for an RFP response. So if that's something of interest, we can always connect you with the folks over there. And then finally, as part of the Plan Newmarket effort, the BPDA is hosting a workshop focused on defining 21st century mobility, or sorry, so used to saying 21st century mobility, 21st century industrial uses and jobs. Connected to mobility, we do talk about transportation too, but this particular workshop is really focused on keeping the industry in the Newmarket area. So that's coming up as well. And then finally, there are applications still open for funding for murals and other forms of artistic expression from the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. You can learn more via the link that will be put in the chat shortly. And the Community Preservation Committee announced in late February that there's going to be some funding to go to the design and construction and infrastructure improvements to create a new Frederick Douglass Plaza and green space in Lower Roxbury. I don't personally have further details about that, but we'll be sure to share them when we do. The Environment Department is hosting a heat resilience study idea session coming up. The focus of this particular meeting on the 16th is Roxbury. And then there's also opportunities that I believe don't have a particular deadline to receive a grant to host a block party. It's always fun. So yeah, with that, a huge thank you for spending time with us today. And I mentioned before, we'd love it if you sign up for the project newsletter. And if you have further questions later on, you can always email Daniela or I at this email address, or call us on this line, which is kind of a project phone number. And yeah, I think that's all we had. But thanks again for coming, and hope you stay have a nice time. I guess I used to be was like stay cool, but now it's nice. So go out and enjoy yourself.
Dan, Daniela, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the entire team and all those who joined.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen. Okay.
All right.
Us.
Oh, we can stop